It's that time of year again when everyone asks, what do I get my dad, husband, boyfriend, father, brother, basically any guy in my life for the holidays? Come on, you know we got the perfect gift. That's right, our favorite pants, the perfect jean, are back to take the guesswork out of holiday gift shopping for the guy in your life. Oh, and not only do they have the most comfortable pants and shorts that won't crush a guy's jingle bells, now they've also got the perfect tee. That's right, they've created a t-shirt that takes the same stretch and quality used for their jeans, so a guy can now dress perfect from head to, well, ankle, because they don't make shoes. Mira, I've got the jeans, the shorts, the shirts. La verdad que it's probably the most comfortable outfit I've ever worn. And you know we like to give our listeners a little something something, so use code PERO20 at theperfectjean.nyc to save 20% off your order. That's right, PERO20 gets you 20% off the jeans, the shorts, the shirts, todo. So this holiday, your khakis and get the perfect gift from the perfect jean. And don't forget to use the code PERO20 for 20% off your order.
Hey people, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is Season 4 of
Pero Let Me Tell You.
You got that, right?
Come on. Really? I'm not going to get that? Sure. Like, what are you, new here?
So you know what's the difference between this episode and last week?
Well, Britney's free now.
Britney's free now.
And you're welcome, Britney. That
Yeah.
was clearly due to us. We had Perez Hilton on last week, and then Britney was freed. I feel like we set the stage.
Yeah.
I feel we had.
It was us.
It was us. It was
So
us.
with that, everybody, welcome to episode
180. I want to say 3.
3. It is 183.
It's 183. Okay.
183. Everybody, that's 183 episodes. That's there's actually more.
Yeah, well, it's
We
actually like
had a lost
190.
episode.
Well, and then we had bonus episodes.
We've had bonus
we actually are
episodes.
like 190.
I think we had an episode that never aired.
We had like 2 episodes.
Those
that
are
never
like the B-sides.
Well,
That's
there was
in the
one episode-
vault.
Look, there's 2 lost episodes really, because there's the lost Christmas episode.
Yes.
And then there's the COVID episode that we recorded and then re-recorded because the
Right.
world changed while we had dinner.
Right. The world changed while we were in the studio recording.
Well, yes, and then we found out when we had dinner
Yes,
afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, those are in the vaults.
The vault, yes.
Yeah, when we release our rarities, you
Yes.
know.
Us and Prince.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of podcast episodes.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of fun, like those production snafus or stuff.
Again, really, there aren't B-sides anymore.
Right.
But those have become like the equivalent.
You know, when anybody says B-side, do you know what I want to say? B-side. This is a song about summertime. Cool summer. No? And this feeling goes on.
Oh, okay. On and on. Yes.
Janet Jackson.
Another
B-sides.
single that wasn't a single.
Yeah. But you know what? You're right. B-sides aren't a thing anymore because there's no physical singles.
Right. There's no physical singles. And it's like when you record something, you throw it on Spotify and call it a day.
Right.
You know? That's why Ariana Grande's been around for 3 years and she has 600 songs.
Yeah. That's why, like, it would be so exciting when you would buy a single for like an upcoming album.
Right.
And it'll be like, you know,
The
from the
single,
forthcoming album,
You know, blah, blah, blah.
blah, blah, blah. Spellbound. And then the B-side was like, you know, Rock House or something like that.
And that's not a thing anymore.
No, kids don't know about B-sides.
No. Maybe, well, no, okay, no, because even from, I was like, well, maybe because of vinyl, but no, because B-sides is all about singles. It's not about albums. So
Right. So how is everybody?
I think everybody's doing good. It's if you're in South Florida, it's probably still kind of rainy, but that's good because it means it's going to be chilly for Thanksgiving.
No, the weather here has been actually pretty good in the last couple of weeks.
Nice.
It's been nice. It's been
I've been working con la ventana abierta.
Well, I was going to say not me, but I have the air conditioner in my house in the 50s because I like the tundra.
Yes. I think que tú eres medio pingüino.
Yeah. When people come to my house, like they either come with a jacket. Like I love that my parents come with jackets.
to visit you.
To visit. Or, it's like the throw. Like, give me a throw.
I must have developed some type of immunity, given we've been doing this for 4 years, because I tend to come right after the gym. So I'm usually in shorts and a tank top, and I'm not tititiando anymore.
Yeah.
So I've built up a tolerance. Yeah.
So I have to confess something.
Uh-oh.
And what a better way to confess it,
to all of our listeners.
Live on Pero Let Me Tell You. So I listened to something this week. And I sort of...
B-sides?
No, and I sort of like it. Oh, I'm going to get so much shit for this.
Oh, wait, what up?
I freaking love Taylor Swift's Red album.
I haven't
Taylor's version.
I haven't listened to it.
So let me tell you what happened. So, listeners, if you've probably heard us in the last 183 episodes, we're not Taylor Swift's biggest fan. We've always acknowledged that she's very
talented, but I can't deal with her.
She's very talented. I've never taken that away from her. But me particularly, she doesn't sell me, and she still doesn't, as like a pop star. Like,
right. I will take her as a Carole King.
Yes, like
a Joni Mitchell.
Like, I saw like her latest tour, the Reputation tour, I think it was. That it was like a huge production, like stage wise. And I mean,
she seems a little lost.
It's not that she seemed lost. She was fine, but it's just
what I mean by lost is
to me as a pop star, doing pop star
things,
girl things. She didn't have like an it factor.
Right.
Not as a musician.
Right. Her talent is her talent.
Or even a live performer, but just like going, when you see Beyonce perform, it's like you think
it's a force of nature.
Yes. Yeah. Or even other people before her.
Right, like a Madonna or a Janet.
Like highly choreographed things and whatever. Right. Like that was for me kind of like, I'm like, oh, it looks like she's auditioning for something, right?
Right. That's what I mean by lost. Like it looks like the production is swallowing her.
Right. Like that's a big stage for her.
Yeah.
But I've never taken away from her talent. But for better or for worse, I'm one of these people that like I'm always like fuck what the critics say, but then I do also listen to the critics, specifically Rolling Stone. Like I'm still very faithful to Rolling Stone. Well, you know this. I didn't know you read Rolling Stone. Okay. And Rolling Stone gave this album, the Red Taylor's version, it gave it 5 stars.
Okay.
And like every single music publication gave it like their ultimate, accolade.
Right.
So I was like, okay, let me take a listen. And it's really good. And I have to tell you, I'm just going to get so much shit. The 10-minute version of...
Let's talk about that 10-minute song for a minute. So I haven't heard it because unless literally somebody like covers it up with leaves and I fall into it, I will not. It's just because I'm not a Taylor person. I think our listeners know this. No, but you're more open to certain things. A mí me caigo una pata por el culo. So I'm a little more, whatever. But I will say this. I find it interesting. You know how we've said this many times where there are artists that critics, no matter what they do, they're like, oh my God, it's fabulous. Oh my God, it's no matter what they do, they kind of, they applaud them. And all I could think of was, Taylor Swift did this 10-minute performance on Saturday Night Live. Whatever. I didn't watch it. We literally fast forwarded it because I was like, no, I don't.
I'm sort of eating up the 10-minute version, by the way.
I'm like, no, I don't need to actually literally watch the seasons change with Taylor Swift. I do that with Expose, thanks. So...
It's been so long since I found you, though it seems like yesterday.
But had another artist done a 10-minute performance on SNL, let's use Mr. Kanye West as an example. I feel like many publications would have come out and been like, he's so indulgent. It's so like, Kanye yet again, 10 minutes and blah, 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 blah. And this girl shows up and she's like, well, I'm just going to sing for 10 minutes. And everybody's like, oh my God. Can you make it 20? Because it's the greatest thing ever.
Okay, I think you're reading too much into it.
No, I'm not. She's one of those artists that like, no matter what she does, people like to give her accolades.
Okay,
I'm not taking away from her talent, but I'm saying it doesn't matter what she does.
I think you're reading too much into it.
Nope.
In terms of the SNL performance... So
I'm not wrong.
The reason why the song is 10 minutes is because she wrote that song. She explained it. She was like doing a rehearsal and she had like a chord progression, and she was kind of playing with the chord progression, and basically the whole song was ad-libbed, and she just went on.
She just got caught up in the
and ad-libbed for like moment. 10 minutes, and then somebody in her. It wasn't supposed to be she said the whole story. She was rehearsing for her tour at that time for like another record.
Okay, Reputation, whatever.
One of her earlier stuff. And because All Too Well is on the album, on the original album.
Well, yeah,
it's like 5 minutes.
That's the whole thing. This album is her redoing.
Right, but it's like 5 minutes.
Right.
You know, it's a regular song length. But so how she wrote that song was that she was in rehearsal for some previous tour, and she was like, whatever, she was feeling it that day, and she had a chord progression. She just went on and on about it, and she started ad-libbing the whole song, and somebody in her band or somebody in her management was like, was somebody recording that? And they were like, yeah, actually, we recorded it. So then from there, when she, a year later, went to record the original album, she cut it down. So now here, she put the original version.
She went back to her intended.
Right, and she just re-recorded her, rehearsal, if you will. But I got to tell you that I can't believe I'm even talking about this. Like, I feel like a born-again Christian.
Oh.
If this is what they... No, because, like things that things that at one point they were like, ugh. Then now I'm like, I can't believe I'm defending Taylor Swift. But, like, the album is actually really good. And I've listened to it all this week, and I'm like, well, who am I becoming?
It's okay. It's okay.
But it's actually really good. And the 10-minute version, yeah. Actually...
I will say my favorite thing about this whole Taylor Swift thing is Dionne Warwick on Twitter.
What is she? Dionne Warwick is like una freaking savage on Twitter.
She's great. So she posted 2 tweets. She's like, if that young man has Taylor's scarf, he should return it.
Yeah.
And then she followed it up with, it does not belong to you. Box it up and I will pay the cost of postage, Jake.
Yeah, it's so funny.
It's great.
That I even thought about, like, the single cover should be just a scarf. Because
it's all about a scarf.
It's all about a scarf. Right? It starts and ends with a scarf. And it's so funny that, like,
una canción de una bufanda.
It's so funny that, like, in the song she talks about, like, oh, your sister now has my scarf. So it's like, oh, does Maggie have the scarf? Because apparently that song was about Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes,
But that's what they say. Like, you don't know.
Well, because she never comes out and says, one way or the other about what her songs are really about.
Yeah, and there's another song on that album called Ronin that I think it's like about, obviously, like a kid who was sick and died. That I'm like, why am I listening to this? But it's actually, it's really good. It's really good.
I will take your word for it. Like I said, if I happen to stumble upon it, like, somebody puts leaves over it, like a trap, and I fall in, then I will
never, ever, ever.
Then I will have seen it
together.
But otherwise, probably not going to happen. I don't. Whatever, I give her credit and blah, blah, and she's talented and all that wonderfulness. But at the end of the day, like, she's a professional. Like, she loves to be the professional victim.
Shut up. Now, you freaking love the party.
Have any of them been professional victims?
No.
Because I don't see the correlation. Whatever, you dislike the party just because you saw the video for summer vacation the day before school started.
Yes. Man, I wouldn't even call them a one-hit wonder.
Not party. Even, yeah. You know what the funny thing is, if you think about
They're a mediocre hit wonder.
They were... Okay, go with me on this journey. They were a little bit, quote-unquote, before their time. In the sense that, had they come out in the last, 10 years or so, when Disney Channel was turning everybody into...
Right.
They probably would have made a bigger splash.
Yeah.
Because Disney hadn't locked in the formula yet.
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay, go ahead. That's it. We can't talk about TS anymore on this show. We will not talk about TS ever again.
Ever again.
Unless she does a Super Bowl halftime, and then
we have to, of course. Yeah, I mean, by law, we have to. Yeah. So, did you hear what Aaron Sorkin said recently about them playing Desi Arnaz in his new film, Being the Ricardos?
Okay.
There's a lot there to unpack. Did you even?
Aaron Sorkin is
he is the director writer of this movie, but he created West Wing and
Newsroom.
Yes.
I was like Newsroom.
Yes,
it's funny because I didn't watch West Wing, but I watched Newsroom.
Right.
So
right.
Yes, Aaron Sorkin, who's known for his long hallway dialogue.
Yes, he can fill a hallway with all the dialogue in the world.
As I always say in my office, me and my assistants, we need a bigger hallway. Our hallway's only like, I don't know, 15
is like a good hello.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So
can't wait to see all the hallways in Being the Ricardos.
Yeah.
So in the movie, Javier Bardem is playing Desi Arnaz. Nicole Kidman is playing Lucille Ball. I'm not looking forward to this movie, but I am going to watch it because, as you know, I'm a huge fan of both of these people. But there's been a little bit of a, again, I don't want to use the word uproar, but there's been some feedback, shall we say, about the fact that he cast Javier Bardem, who's a Spanish actor.
Right, and is like totally like socialist, blah, 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 blah.
I don't even know if it got that far.
Right.
It's just not a Cuban actor.
Okay.
Necessarily. And so Sorkin said, he claimed that Bardem was chosen after the casting consultant who was Latina. Because originally I think they had like some Brazilian guy under consideration, and the Latina casting consultant was like, no, because the Brazilian wouldn't be considered Hispanic. So apparently there was some type of like, let's make sure we're doing this quote unquote right, But what he's saying is, and I'm going to quote him. I want to tell you my opinion on this, and I stand by it, which is this. Spanish and Cuban aren't actable, okay? They're not actable. By the way, neither are straight and gay. Because I know there's a small movement underway that only gay actors should play gay characters. Gay and straight aren't actable. You could act being attracted to someone, but most nouns aren't actable. So Sorkin went on to say that while he knows, blackface is demeaning, casting a Spanish person as a Cuban is not demeaning in the same way. What are your thoughts?
My mind wasn't there whatsoever.
To me, it was that I brought it up because number one,
like when you said Javier Bardem, playing Desi Arnaz,
your mind went to something completely different.
Yeah, I didn't think for 1 second like, oh, he's not Cuban.
Right. You went the route of like, well, his political leanings.
I thought it was like a political leaning type
are antithetical to the whole Cuban scenario. I just think he was ill cast. I just don't think Javier Bardem gives me Desi Arnaz vibes in general. I think there's an argument to be said for you could have found a Cuban actor. I mean, at the end of the day, but I also understand that a movie like this, when you've got Nicole Kidman, you're not going to hire an unknown to act against Nicole Kidman. And even if you hired somebody who is known, she is of a certain caliber that you're not just going to bring in somebody, like I love oh my God, I can't think of his name now.
Raúl Esperanza.
Like Raúl Esparza, Danny Pino, these are all great choices, but realistically speaking, they're not going to be brought in to act opposite of Nicole Kidman.
Right.
Whereas Javier Bardem is Academy Award nominated.
Winner.
He's a winner. That's a different level of a different echelon of actor. So yeah, it's okay. It's all the letters were there.
Yeah. Taylor Swift.
But I just think it's indicative of like what we've talked about several times here, which is that you're not seeing the forest for the trees. There was a time where they would have cast, like, I don't know, Ben Affleck to play Desi Arnaz. You know what I mean? Like, they would have just cast anyone, quote unquote. And at least in this case, from what I'm seeing, I mean, he's Spanish, which Desi's family did come from Spain, so you could make the argument. And they even had a consultant as they were making these decisions to make sure, like, they were not going to step on any toes, and yet there's still people who are bitching and moaning.
Everything you said about like the caliber or status of the actor is very true. Opposite Nicole Kidman, yeah, I spot on. Because at the end of the day, we could talk about representation matters and all that stuff, which it does. But at the end of the day, Hollywood, it's a business, and movies are a business, and studios don't give a shit. They're gonna hire who they need to hire to make money,
right?
And make sure they at least recoup the production costs.
Put asses in seats.
My biggest concern would be that whoever the actor is, that they could spot on do the accent.
Because that is such a part of
Desi Arnaz. It is a part of Desi Arnaz, and it's a part of like Cuban culture. the accent. And it's just not any accent, it's specifically the Cuban accent. Right.
He can't get up there and do a Spaniard speaking English.
Right.
It has to sound Cuban.
To sound Cuban. I am more interested in that type of authenticity and that type of
attention to detail.
And that part of actual real representation insofar that what we're getting is not a caricature.
Right.
And it's not a stereotype, but actually what this person sounded like, which is what Cubans sound like. And that would be my real
your concern.
My concern.
Right.
Because so many times they get it. It's not even that they get it wrong. They get it painfully wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, Hollywood is littered with good intentions.
Right.
Yeah.
And what is it?
The road to
hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
So that would be my biggest my mind didn't go there at all when you said Javier Bardem. I was like, okay. I mean, I guess he's going to have to dye his hair black and
do a Cuban accent.
Or whatever. Nicole Kidman as Lucy.
I love me some Nicole Kidman. I'm a fan of Nikki Kidman. I will say, I know I'm going to sound a little bitchy right now. I will say that I find it interesting that they got a woman whose brow has not moved for 15 years to play one of the most rubber-faced women in Hollywood.
But is this do you know a little bit about the movie?
I do.
Is it a biopic or
So yes, in that it's doing is it's following them through a week of taping of an episode of I Love Lucy, and throughout that week, I believe
I'm surprised there hasn't been a movie about them before.
Yeah, they've done TV movies. There's been TV movies, but not feature films. And I believe that what it is so you're following them through 1 week, from the table read down to the filming. And I believe that in between they'll have flashbacks. So maybe Lucy and Desi will have a conversation about something, and it'll trigger her.
Who's playing Vivian Vance?
I can't remember her name right now. She's probably the least known of the four. William Frawley is being played by J.K. Simmons. Again, he's another Oscar winner. So this is a movie that's got its Oscar on its sleeve. Is it wrong
that as much as Lucy and Ricky are iconic, I really liked Ethel and Fred?
Well, because who doesn't love the second bananas?
I loved Ethel and Fred.
I've seen those episodes a gajillion times.
And that's not doesn't matter like Lucy.
No.
Or Ricky. But Ethel, there was just something about Ethel and Fred. I was always more interested in Ethel, than Lucy.
It's great. I'm actually listening to a podcast now called The Plot Thickens, which is by TCM, and they're doing an entire season right now on Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
And right now they're at the point where they've started I Love Lucy. And so I think the next episode next week is going to be about the communism scare.
Oh yeah.
Which every time they play that speech by Desi,
the only thing read about her is her hair.
I cry. I start to cry because it's so.
Are they involved in it? The estate or their kids?
I know that their daughter Lucy Arnaz did give her, for what it's worth, her blessing on the casting. Yeah. They did not want Lucy Arnaz to come to the set, but Nicole Kidman did invite her. So Aaron Sorkin.
Why did they want her to come?
Because what I think, Aaron Sorkin kind of just wanted them to look, I don't want you to be bogged down. You already have enough with the iconography of her to also have her daughter here kind of in your, and then it gets in your head of shit, their daughter's there. Am I really doing it right? So I feel like that's why they didn't want her on the set. Okay. But Nicole Kidman did invite her one day, and of course, when the star of the movie.
I mean, look, again, representation matters, and representation is something that for so long was just not there.
Yeah.
But I think that there are different levels and different facets of representation. Specifically for a Cuban, because that's what we can talk about. Mm-hmm. I don't care if an actor, to me, as I said, I don't care. The actor doesn't have to be Cuban. Sure, there are a lot of Cuban actors. Yeah. Would it have been great for them to have cast the Cuban actor? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I get it, as we said, why. But to me, what really always bothers me is when they get it painfully wrong, which is they generally do. Right. That is what makes me want to throw something at the TV. Because at the very minimum, Because it's like, okay, I understand the casting process, but at the very minimum, if you're hiring an actor, even if the actor is white Caucasian, un americano, at least do your research to give them a script and something that they could build on, right? And is good. Because even if that actor was Cuban, right, born in Cuba, and you gave them some shitty ass script of somebody that did not do their research, somebody who didn't really capture the essence of
I don't care how good of an actor you are,
of a Cuban man, I would still be insulted, right? Like, look at them, So I think that as long as they do their research and it's accurate and correct, that's my bigger concern.
Right. No, and that makes sense. It's why we've said, like for instance with, One Day at a Time, the remake, where everybody's like, oh, the leads are Puerto Rican and it's like, yeah, but look at it. They are being Cuban.
The writer,
the character is being Cuban. Like they know what they're talking about. It's not just something that they were told, by the way, you're this. It's inherent.
Yeah, and also, I mean, and we when One Day at a Time came out a few years ago, we talked about it many times. I think the problem with One Day at a Time, not problem, but from our standpoint, why a lot of people down here didn't kind of fall in line with it, was because it's always going to be compared to Que Pasa USA.
Yeah.
Whatever show about Cubans comes out, whatever sitcom, it's always going to be compared to Que Pasa USA. And
one of the biggest complaints was like, oh, they should have set it in Miami, as if Cubans don't live everywhere.
And that
else.
was the other thing. LA Cubans are different from Miami Cubans, which are different from, which are different from New Jersey Cubans. Obviously we have a lot of similarities, but it's a different experience, I mean, if you're Cuban from LA, Porto's Bakery is life.
Right.
Over here, people don't know Porto's Bakery. It's Vicky's Bakery.
Yeah.
Or
any bakery down La Ocho.
Down La Ocho. So that's the behemoth of a mountain that One Day at a Time had to overcome, is that it's not Que Pasa USA. And as we always say about Que Pasa USA, as brilliant and genius as Que Pasa USA was, you show that show to a Cuban de ahora, and they're not going to get it.
It doesn't resonate.
Because the Que Pasa USA perfectly captured not only Cubans, but a time and place.
Yeah.
Miami in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
That is what it captured. Miami in the 90s, it's irrelevant. It's even in the 90s.
That was only 20 years later.
And forward, after that. It's just, so, I mean, when does this movie come out?
Ahorita, like in December. It's an Amazon movie, so it'll Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, like I said, I will watch it.
I'll just do. I mean, we kind of have to watch it.
We do. We
have
kind of
cover it on the podcast.
That's true. But I again, I love me some Desi Arnaz, and Lucy and I share a birthday.
You and I were talking about this the other day. I don't know if it was on the podcast or in person.
I don't remember.
Sometimes
it blurs.
It blurs.
Yeah.
That Desi Arnaz, because
it was off.
It was because my father tells me. Yes, my father tells me some time ago, or maybe in October, that it's Hispanic Heritage Month. My father tells me, oh, tú sabes que Desi Arnaz inventó lo de las cámaras, varias cámaras que hasta hoy en día se usan. I'm like, yeah, multicam.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yo no sabía. And then he talked to me about other things that Desi Arnaz did. And I'm like, I feel that Desi Arnaz... Oh, yeah, Desi Arnaz, Lucy's Cuban husband. But I feel that he doesn't get enough credit for all the things he had to overcome, and how he was the first of so many firsts.
They were the first interracial couple on TV,
and he was the first.
And CBS did not want him because they said that nobody would believe that this, quote unquote Midwest, all American girl would be married to a Cuban.
Yeah,
they had to fight to get him that role.
You know what's so crazy about I Love Lucy, though, in terms of him being Cuban? That the Cuban that he is a different type of Cuban because it's Cuban BC.
That's Castro. True. Yeah, because he came. I think it was his family had to flee because I think of Batista.
Right, but it's before Castro.
Right.
But even if he fled because of Batista, like the narrative and the Cuban diaspora is so ingrained with communism and the revolution,
and that wasn't his experience,
and that wasn't at all. That didn't exist. Then it's a completely, it's a little mind blowing in a way.
Which is why I think we were talking about this off mic the other day. I think that's why he gets overlooked so much.
Yeah,
as far as the Cuban community and the Cuban diaspora, because our identity, for better or worse, has become so ingrained with the communism Castro story.
Yeah. That
this man,
the people who came before,
it's like, no, I mean, you're Cuban. I mean, you're Cuban, but
tú no pasaste trabajo.
Yeah, which is bullshit, because I've heard his story, and let me tell you something. Homeboy llegó aquí con una mano adelante y la otra atrás.
Yeah.
As they say. So we can't let this episode go by without just, obviously Thanksgiving.
Oh, I see.
Thanksgiving is this week. Is it crazy that I can't believe it's already Thanksgiving?
Well, no, Thanksgiving
Yes.
Well, it's next week. So in our episode next week,
our
episode is on Black Friday.
Our episode's on Black Friday. So I'm saying it's on Black Friday. So technically, this episode goes through Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Are you looking forward to Thanksgiving, or are you just? I feel a little weird this year in terms of holidays. I don't feel holiday spirited.
Well, I feel weird for other reasons.
No, okay, sorry. But it's just, I don't know. I just feel like. I don't know if it's because we started Christmas, during Labor Day this year.
I mean, for me, look, you always have to celebrate, especially when kids are involved. Mm-hmm. I'm, with the loss of my grandmother this year,
it's very different.
It's very much the elephant in the room. It's what everybody's going to be thinking of.
Right.
We're not doing it at my parents' house, which is where we always do it.
You're not gonna do Noche Buena at your parents' house?
No, we're not doing anything at my parents' house this year because I feel that it's just gonna be too much. It's like the you're really gonna feel
her presence will be felt.
Yes,
or the absence of her presence.
Her absence will really be felt. Mm-hmm. So I think that when you change sceneries, it's like
true. At least you're distracted.
Yeah, it's like we're doing it somewhere else. Because you have a different scenery, nothing feels
te cambia la rutina.
Right, nothing feels routine or normal,
familiar, right?
Or familiar, exactly.
Right,
because
right.
My parents' house in la terraza, my grandmother always sat in a certain space, which I would always sit across from her, and that's why I was like, I don't want to do anything in the house this year. But you gotta.
¿Dónde van a hacer el Thanksgiving?
I'm probably my brother's. I am doing the turkey this year. That's another thing. My grandmother always did the turkey. Always.
Oh, okay.
Always. Last year, it was more like a co-opt.
Esta era supervisora.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But because last year, I really wanted to do a certain recipe, which is the upside down turkey. And I kind of let her be on it because it was her shtick.
Right.
But yeah, I mean... those are all things we all go through at one point or another. With
the first
loss.
or the worst?
Yeah, the first everything. With the loss of a loved one. But the show must go on. Especially in my case, my kid was born on Christmas, so
that's true. You cannot get a break in that sense. No. He will remind you.
Oh yes. So yeah. Where are you guys doing it?
My sister's house. We always do it down south. My sister's house. She does it's great because she's kind of like gotten away from any Cubanisms of things. Like, I mean, she'll have, like, since my grandmother will be there, she'll probably make like arroz y frijoles, whatever. But she tries to make it like mac and cheese and green bean casserole and sweet potato pie and all that stuff. So it's sweet potato casserole. Sorry, not sweet potato pie. So actually, she does she's like everybody now. I guess she does the turkey with the bacon on it.
No, oh my gosh,
we've
been doing that.
I'm saying now,
always since the 80s. I've moved on from that. That's why now I do it.
Oh
that's why I wanted to do something different last year. So listeners, what's the problem always with turkeys?
Dry.
Yeah,
which is why you do the bacon thing, so the grease seeps through.
So this is what you have to do.
Okay.
I'm going to give you all a little trick, listeners. So you get the pan.
Okay.
Where the turkey's in.
Okay.
Where you make the turkey.
Yeah.
Get a really big, like, large rectangular piece of, like, sourdough bread. Okay. You need a hearty bread.
Okay.
You're going to cut it in half. So you're going to put it on the pan as, like, a base.
Okay.
Right? When I mean butter the turkey, You are going to butter that turkey inside out. You're going to put like 3 sticks of butter on that thing.
Okay.
Like
Forget about cholesterol.
I put it all over the skin. I like what I do is, especially in the breast area, like I breach it. So I like get between the skin and the actual meat. I put my hand in there.
Okay, got it.
I put butter in there. I put like the amounts of butter are insane. So then in the cavity,
Don't get a blood test after Thanksgiving is what I'm hearing.
I get herbs and I just put herbs in there. So what you do is you put it upside down, breast down.
Pata para arriba.
Pata para arriba.
Okay.
Right? Breast down, or flat side, para arriba. And you don't cover it. I put it in for, depending on the weight of your turkey, for probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours, like that. So then what happens is that the bottom side of the turkey is the fattiest. So when you put it upside down, that fat, along with 20 pounds of butter that you put, drips into the breast. So then what I do is, after that, I then turn it around again. Then I turn it around, breast side up, traditional
so
side
it can
up.
brown.
No. Then, because there's still a lot of time left in the turkey. Remember, these things, unless you get a very small bird, these things take hours and hours to do. Right. So then what I do is, when I do it...
No wonder the first Thanksgiving was 3 days.
Breast side up, I then get foil and I cover the breast.
Once you flipped it.
Once I flipped it, I cover the breast. Why? Because what's exposed at that point are the drumsticks and the wings and all that. That's dark meat. Dark meat can't really be overcooked.
True.
I mean, unless you just put it in the
oven
for about 20 hours.
Right.
But generally, it's not really overcooked. Okay. And the more you cook brown meat, dark meat, the more tender it gets. So you're not going to overcook it.
You don't lose.
Right. So then what you do, again, depending on the time of your bird, like in the last, like maybe 45 minutes or an hour, then I take the el aluminio off. Okay. And that's when you brown it. And then here's the best part: when you take out the turkey, that bread that you put there has soaked all the juices and the butter. It is amazing. Like, people fight for it. And then from that, from the leftover, my gravy.
And then the next day, you've got the gobbler.
Oh, the gobbler. My gobbler sandwich. My famous, world-famous gobbler sandwich.
Yes.
People, I need to market this, like trademark this. I mean,
you should do a little IG video.
Of my gobbler sandwich? Yeah. Bread, a nice hearty bread.
Probably the same bread you can use for the base of this turkey.
A nice hearty bread, a sourdough. Turkey.
Right.
Stuffing.
Okay.
Cranberry. Gravy.
And enjoy.
You could all thank me later. That's what I call the gobbler.
Well, while y'all are enjoying the gobbler and all the butter, I will say there are some of our listeners who are vegetarian and vegan.
Okay, you made me go into this whole tirade about turkeys and butter when we're going to introduce our next guest.
Yes.
You tricky little
it's what I do. It's what I do. So this week, listeners, we are talking with Raydel Hernandez, who has written a book called It's Delicious, It's Vegan, It's Cuban, a cookbook for people who want to be vegetarian or vegan but don't know how to start. And it was actually really great because he became a vegan for health purposes. He even says it himself. He's like, I'm not against animal cruelty, but I didn't do this because of PETA. It's health reasons. But what he did was essentially take all of his grandmother and tia's recipes and did a lot of testing and figuring out how to veganize or vegetarianize them, to the point where he's got a cookbook, he's got his TikTok channel, he's got a YouTube channel, and I have to say, I know it's a little bit of a cheat. I made his Maduro Borracho. I know, Maduros, right? Like, that's my venture into veganism, but they were really, really good. So without further ado, here is our chat with Raydel Hernandez.
Sometimes here in Miami, we complain that, like, compared to New York City and other older cities, we don't have a lot of traditions here and a lot of things that, our parents did and our grandparents did. But there's a pretty big tradition here in Dade County that for the last 69 years has been around. We love it. It's one of our favorite things to do, and that's the fair.
Yeah. November 18th through December 5th, we've got the fair, which we've talked about so many times on the show.
We have.
I mean, it's a tradition for us.
We stand the fair.
Last year was really kind of painful for us not going to the fair.
I know. It was Corona and all that, but
we felt it.
But it's like, wait, we have a pandemic and they canceled the fair?
I mean, come on, people.
But this year, the fair is back.
Yes, they are. And they are taking safety precautions, but they still have hand sanitizers everywhere.
Yeah.
So they are definitely taking
And it really is, I mean, seriously speaking, it really is a great tradition. And it is great entertainment, whether you are grandma or you're just a little kid.
It's the definition of fun for the whole family.
It really, really is. And it doesn't matter what age you're in, because there really is something for everybody. And again, the whole tradition thing is very important. I grew up going to the fair. Yeah. There's pictures of me as like a 2-year-old at the fair, and now I could take my son to the fair and go down the same midway I went and all that. And that is definitely a Dade County tradition.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad it's back, especially, it's a little cooler this time of year when we get to go. So that should be fun as well. So, I mean, what are we waiting for?
So remember, everybody, November 18th through December 5th, the fair is back. So the fair,
be there. Oye, the holidays are here, and you know what that means.
Déjame ver. Turkey, cranberry sauce, sweet potatoes, ham.
No. More like lechon, yuca, buñuelos, and tamales.
Bueno. Then it's a good thing that Sedano's Supermarket has all these delicious food items and more, including turrón and beverages como la sidra.
Is it even a party if you don't have sidra pa un brindis?
I don't think so.
No.
And the best part is that you can order a fully cooked holiday meal from Sedano's, o sea, a meal con todos los hierros.
And none of the dolor de cabeza.
Así mismo. So head over to sedanos.com to find the Sedano Supermarket near you and their weekly specials.
So visit today. After all, Sedano's has the flavors and savings you love. Welcome back, mi gente. So Ish here, and as we mentioned, we have with us today the author of the cookbook. It's delicious. It's vegan. It's Cuban. Raydel Hernandez. Thank you for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
So I have to say, I mean, many an episode where we've, kind of made a little fun of vegans, had our fun with vegetarianism. Many moons ago, was a vegetarian for about a month. Mostly I just did it to say I did it, so then when I made fun of vegetarians, I can say I did it for a month, right? Like,
right.
But how did the idea come to you? Because obviously when one thinks veganism, one does not immediately think of arroz con pollo, lechon,
all the good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. How did this happen?
Well, it happened because I had a health issue about 15 years ago. I started having health problems. Are you familiar with gout at all? Do you know what gout is?
I am. I have a very good friend of mine who suffers from it.
Okay, well, I suffered from it quite a bit. And I had one attack. Well, I remember the first attack. I thought it was an injury because I was always very athletic. Mm-hmm. So I thought I had hurt my toe or whatever, and it was very persistent. And then one day, every single attack just became stronger and stronger and stronger. And by the fourth attack, I was like, this cannot be an injury. This has to be something going on. So I went to the doctor. And I called my doctor to make an appointment, and he couldn't see me for like 2 weeks because when you need to see a doctor, they can't see you for some reason, right?
Yeah, that's just the way it goes, doesn't it? It's
yeah. So I had to go into one of those walk-in clinics,
like an urgent care type situation.
An urgent care, yeah. That's how much pain I was in, and I met a doctor, and to this day I can see her face, but I can't remember her name, and she changed my whole life. She told me basically that the gout was a systematic symptom of a bigger problem, meaning that gout, well, this is how she said it to me, gout and kidney stones and prostate problems are all sister ailments. They all kind of work together.
Huh.
Either you have one or you have the other, or you have two or you have one. That's the way it works, and it's genetic. So, and when I started thinking about it, I'm like, well, my father's had kidney stones, and he's constantly suffering from his prostate. I mean, I can't remember a day where my father doesn't go about complaining about his prostate. So, and I had a kidney stone.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, oh my God, I had a kidney stone. and then I had gout. So she said that these three ailments are basically the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, to heart disease.
Oh.
Yeah, no, she laid it down for me like no doctor that I've ever met. She said it just like that, and she said, look, at some point, I can give you medicine to make it go away,
Right.
but the underlying condition is still there.
Yeah, treating the symptom, not the cause, yeah.
Exactly, and she said, look, at some point, you may have to decide to become a vegan or a vegetarian, a strict vegetarian. Mm-hmm. When she said that to me, I was like everybody. I mean, I'm Cuban. I grew up on, shredded beef and ham. And
croquetas.
Yeah, I mean, chicharrones was like a breakfast thing. Like you always had it. And when she told me that, I was more upset about being a vegan than I was about being a potential heart patient. So, I'm a pretty open-minded person. So I always, but I will test your theory, right? So if you tell me something, I'll investigate it. So I spent a lot of time doing research, asking other doctors. I went to my doctor, and my doctor told me the complete opposite. He said, no, these things are genetic. You're genetically predispositioned to have this.
There's nothing
Not much you can do about it. You're going to have to take medicines and blah, blah, blah. And by the way, all of this was occurring when I was like 36 years old.
Okay, so you weren't, and you're still young, but it's not like you're 70, right? Like you're young, and they're telling you like, you may get a heart attack and drop dead if you don't do something. And yet now the doctor's saying, medicine, let's go that route.
Yeah. I was young and fit. Okay, I mean, I practiced judo for 27 years of my life. I wrestled, I competed, I ran.
Nice.
So anyway, I took it to heart, and I started doing research, and I have, obviously, just like everybody else, I have friends my age, and I started asking around. I'm like, are you guys having any problems, like blood pressure-wise or cholesterol or whatever? And,
hey.
Yeah, a couple of friends were like, yeah, we're kind of having issues. So a buddy of mine was experimenting with veganism. So I started experimenting with it, and at first it was tough. Like I didn't think that I'd be able to do it because what I found was American, and I say this in the nicest way possible, American type of cooking that was vegan. Okay, which is like
no es lo mismo.
No, it's kale puffs and stuff that just is not in the Cuban vernacular.
Yeah.
I don't know if you read this in my book. I had grown up with my grandmother, and my grandmother escaped from Cuba, like all of the people in her generation, with whatever she can take, okay? And she brought with her, I'd say it was a hat box about this big of all these recipes that she had collected through her lifetime, and recipes from her mother and recipes from her sisters. And
I gotta say, I'm impressed. I'm impressed that she is one of the few Cubans who actually has recipes written down. Because most of our people are like, no, échale un ching de esto y un poco del otro, and hope for the best, right? No. And somehow you know what un ching is at some point.
All to the letter. She had recipes cut out of old newspapers from Cuban restaurants from Cuba.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was amazing. And this is the food that I grew up on. Okay, I mean, I grew up with her cooking every day. I grew up with all that food. Yeah. And then I came to realize that all that food was kind of killing me.
It was a delicious death, but it was a death nonetheless.
Death nonetheless, right. So I debated with this whole vegan thing, and I was like, I mean, I can't speak for all Cubans. For me, the food in our house, the breaking of the bread that we had was all part of making the family even closer. And my grandmother's family is enormous. My grandmother had I even lose count. I think it's like 11 sisters and 2 brothers.
Wow.
And they all cooked, and they all came over the house. And all my memories, all my childhood memories are of these good people.
Yeah.
That would come and bring food, and we'd all eat together, and we all had the same food. So anyway, I was kind of like muddling around for a while. I was like, okay, so I have all of this culture behind me, all of this food that I've eaten all my life, and now I have to walk away from all of it. Mm-hmm. And so there has to be a way. I mean, there's got to be someone who is in my shoes that maybe wrote a book. So I started looking all over the place for a Cuban cuisine book that was vegan. Couldn't find one. I found
really
Indian food. Yeah, I couldn't find any. It's more popular now. There might be one aside from mine now, but even now, when I look on Amazon, I don't really see too many Cuban books.
True, because this was, 12 years ago, you said?
I started writing the book 7 years ago, and I didn't finish until last year.
Okay.
So I took time experimenting to see what plant proteins, what plant products existed that I can substitute for the meats.
Oh yeah, of course. You can't rush something like this. You really have to. It's test kitchen time for sure.
It is, and you know, like we joked before the actual live interview that I have my tia. My tia was my test kitchen. As a matter of fact, I converted her to being a vegetarian. Yeah, my aunt in New Jersey at 62 years old. At 62 or 63, she was having problems. She was taking cholesterol medicine and it was bothering her joints. And, you know, she was desperate to do something different. I said, look, I've been doing this now for, at that time, I was doing it for a couple of years, I guess. And I said, look, I can probably change your life in 30 days. I think the thing that sold her was I had made picadillo. And I made picadillo with cauliflower.
Oh, I'd never heard of it with cauliflower.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It comes out pretty good with soy too, with ground soy. But the cauliflower is very light, so I made it for her, and she couldn't believe it was cauliflower. So then right there is where I hooked her, and then she started taking her recipes and substituting things, and now she's a vegetarian. She has no cholesterol. She looks great. She lost a bunch of weight, and she's the happiest she's ever been.
But I'm sure a big part of it also was, I believe you mentioned, you know, at the end of the day, you used your grandmother's recipes as the base for all of this. So there is, I think, something to be said for, yes, it's vegetarian or vegan or you know, whichever of the two, but it still has that home feel. It still tastes, for lack of a better way of putting it, it tastes like our culture, right? Like it's, because that's a big thing where when you mentioned, you know, American veganism, the thing that they're lacking, I think, and again, I'm not a vegan, so feel free to correct me, is the seasoning, the spices, as it were, right? Like they're not the sazon. They're not ones to use naranja agria. They're not going to do un sofrito. They're not using, you know, sazon completa. So I think that when you keep those flavors, right, and the integrity of that, it becomes more acceptable, shall we say, to especially, you know, you're talking about your tia, who, I mean, I'm assuming if she's anything like my tia's, is pretty dyed in the wool, like, no, el arroz con pollo se hace así, el picadillo se hace así. So, you know, it's an easier sell, I think. But again, I could be completely wrong.
Let me tell you something, and I don't want to, like, come off as a braggart or anything like that. My picadillo, whether it's cauliflower or whether it's soy-based, is very close to the ground beef version. Okay, you would think it's a leaner ground beef. That's all you would think it is.
Okay.
That's how close it is. Yeah. I'm not going to say that's the same for every recipe. I mean, there's always going to be a texture difference. You can't copy it 100%. But it's close enough where you don't care. I mean, I've had plenty of friends. Look, I have plenty of friends that grew up with me eating my cooking when I wasn't a vegan.
Right.
And they've all said, you know what, this is super close. Like, it's close enough where we don't care.
Yeah.
I brought my cooking to work. No one has ever said, yuck, that's vegan. Never. It's never happened. If anything, I get questions like, how do you make it? What's going on? And in reality, if you really think about it, Ish, the proteins themselves, like chicken, with the exception of fish, because fish always tastes like fish, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So like protein, beef, any of the other leaner meats, they don't have much of a flavor until you flavor them.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same thing with plant-based you know, substitutions. They're neutral in flavor. They don't taste like anything at all until you start, you know, putting the sazon in and the sofrito and all that stuff. And you know, before you know it, your arroz con pollo is now soy-based, and no one can really tell. Yeah. I mean, there's no bones in it. I mean, there's no soy.
Clearly, right? That's
right,
kind of hard.
You know, but the truth is, I mean, if one is better for you and the taste is just about equal, why not?
No, I gotta say, when I was out in LA a couple of years ago, and I've spoken about this before, a friend of mine, she's also Cuban, her son is at the time vegetarian. I think he might be vegan now. And she was telling me about this restaurant out there called Equelecua, which is a Cuban vegetarian or Cuban vegan restaurant.
I've heard of it.
I sat down, and it's funny because in my mind I was like, if I'm going to have a vegan plate, like I'm going to have the picadillo, right? Like that, let me go full on Cuban, right? And I got to say, to your point, I knew it wasn't meat. Obviously, you know, it's not going to taste like carne. It's just because the texture is a little different. But it didn't make me want to gag. It didn't make me go like, esto está malísimo or whatever. It was just like, no, this is good. And again, let's be honest, 2/3 of our plate as Cubans is already vegetarian with the rice and beans. So, you know, it's just making that other third, you know, vegetable or plant-based.
Yeah, it's true. And let me tell you, I always say this to everybody. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Okay, I used to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and I loved it, and I was athletic, and I lived with it until I gave it up, and I was like, I can never give it up because I love to smoke, and I gave it up. None of these things are hard to do. Okay, what's hard to do is to unbrainwash your brain.
It's a start.
That's the hardest part.
Starting is the hardest part. Yeah, taking that
starting and understanding what you're trying to accomplish, and realizing that it's not the end of the world. If anything, you know this is going to sound cliched. There's a lot more food that you can eat as a vegetarian than there is as just a meat eater, because every plate as a meat eater is going to be fish, chicken, pork, or beef, or lamb.
That is true. Yeah, you know what? I never thought about that, but you do have a point. It's limited after a certain point.
And if you notice, the only thing that makes it different, like if you have, you know, shrimp at a Mexican restaurant, it tastes Mexican because of the seasoning.
Right.
Right. If you have Cuban shrimp, it tastes Cuban because of the seasoning. The shrimp is neutral.
So I know you also, you know, aside from your book, It's Delicious, It's Vegan, It's Cuban, you also have a YouTube channel.
I do.
Which I actually saw. I believe you posted a new video recently about plátano borracho.
Plátanos borrachos,
which looked phenomenal. I actually earmarked it because I'm going to make it because it looks so damn good.
Yeah,
but
it's easy.
It looks easy. That's why I'm going to make it. I don't cook. I'm I'm going to give it a shot, but I'm not a chef. But you know, you got me thinking now. You know, we're about to really get into the end of the year, the holidays, right? Where you have a lot of family get-togethers, and especially, you know, as you know, being Cuban, family get-togethers, it's not your typical family of 4. You've got a typical family of 40, right?
Right.
What would you say, you know, of the recipes in your book would be maybe the ideal, or, you know, the recipe that maybe we can try as we have these get-togethers to present to our families as almost like an entryway? It's Nochebuena. There's gonna be a pig in the cajachina. It's going to be there, but maybe there's something else that, you know, someone could bring to the party, right? And say like, hey, instead of meat, I used this to make this dish. Which one would you suggest?
I particularly like a product called Butler's Soy Curls. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
Okay, it's a dry bag. It looks like chicharrones. Okay, but it isn't chicharrón, it's dry soy. And what happens is you hydrate the soy just by adding water to it, and it starts to take the form of shredded chicken. Okay, and it feels like shredded chicken. So as one of those opening dishes that, you know, maybe you try to show people, look, it's not all bad, try this.
Right.
I would try the arroz con pollo with Butler curls. Okay, as a substitution, because I'll tell you, you're not going to see much of a difference. All the flavor is going to be there because all of it comes from the rice, the beer, the vegetables, the onions, all that in there.
Yeah, and you're already half the dish is rice, so you're already halfway to acceptance.
Right. No, and at the end of the day, it doesn't taste. Look, also, I want you to understand too. I'm not a vegan for animals. Okay, I mean, I like animals like anybody else likes animals. I had a cat for the longest time, but I'm not part of the you know, the Pig Liberation Front. I'm not that kind of vegan.
Infamous arch enemies of Cubans, the Pig Liberation Front. Yes.
I'm doing it for my health. What I'm going to say is, if you're right, and if you want to be a vegan, you know, 340 days out of the year, you're better off than not.
True.
Right. So if you want to have your pork at Christmas, go for it.
Right.
But what's funny though, I'll tell you, if you do commit to a plant-based diet, your body starts reacting to the food very differently. And your palate changes. Like for me, my skin cleared up. My hair got better.
Makes sense.
I got stronger somehow. Like when I work out now, I don't get sore. I don't have any of that soreness. I can lift tomorrow and not have lifted for like a month, and I won't feel 1 acre pain.
Wow, damn.
Yeah, it's the oddest thing in the world. It's almost like you're feeding your body what your body really wants. And the reason I bring that up is because when you do end up having that pork dinner because you want to have it once a year,
right,
your body's not going to like it.
Oh, it is not going to be a fun moment because all that gossip. No.
For me, this is the oddest thing too. Like, I have coworkers when I go to work. Like, I obviously I work full time and I do this on the side, right? Yeah. When I go to work and I see someone eating, and I used to love chicken wings. Oh. When I have someone eating chicken wings next to me, I can smell the feathers.
Okay, we have a chicken wing side hustle down here. me and DJ. So that one hit a little close to home, man. That one hit.
I'm telling you, I can smell the feathers. I can smell the stable where the animals are. It's the oddest thing in the world. Like because you don't need it anymore, and like your body,
it's a foreign
kind of readjusts. So I would tell you, look, if two of the best things you can do in your life, whether you agree with this or not, is to stop smoking and to eat a lot less animal products.
I mean,
because you will see changes immediately.
Yeah, I mean, the smoking, everybody knows at this point, right? And even the animal product one, I mean, it does make a degree of sense, right? You always hear, like, what's the first thing they tell you when you have heart issues? Well, cut the red meat, right? Like, first, that's it, immediately. You can still eat chicken, you can still eat fish, but get rid of the red meat. So there's something there. There is a connection there, of course.
They're all the same, right? So the red meat is no better than the chicken. It's no better than the fish. It's no better than the pork. It's animal flesh is what makes people sick. Right. That's what creates ailments. So that's all marketing, right? They'll say, well, don't eat so much red meat, but eat the chicken now that it's twice as expensive. Like that's what they'll do to you. Or they'll say, like, I remember when I was
I think it's more about weaning you off.
I don't know. I remember when I was a kid, they used to promote pork as the other white meat.
Yes, sir.
Pretending like it's better for you or as good for you as chicken, when we all know it's not. I mean,
greasiest, it's freaking delicious, but it's the greasiest animal meat out there, and yet you're right. Yeah. They were like saying, no, it's the other white meat. It's it's healthier.
It's not bad for you at all. Yeah,
right. So I gotta say, again, I'm not much of a chef, and I can't promise anything that I'm gonna become a vegan or anything. But definitely, talking to you and looking through your book and your YouTube channel, there's definitely some recipes there that I do want to try. So I'm not going to say you've converted me 100%, but you have opened my eyes a little bit more. I'm a pretty open-minded person, but I just, I always tell people I'm a dyed-in-the-wool carnivore, but you know what? I'll give it a shot.
Well, look, I mean, I was the same way until I wasn't,
That's true.
I mean, I always think back to that doctor that I spoke to. She said, look, you can live the way you want to live.
Oh, yeah, it's your choice, but do you want to live, or do you want to not live as long?
I know people, like I have a friend that I work with. His wife has a condition, something to do with her gallbladder. I can't remember what it is, but I know that her doctor said that as a last resort, if the medicines don't work, you'd have to become a vegan, right? Okay. And my friend Tom was so flustered with this solution. And I was like, listen, is it really that big of a deal? Like, would you rather just have your wife be sick the rest of her life?
Yeah, really, come on.
And eat super sat and all the Italian things that you want to eat? Or maybe try to change so she can live a little bit longer, a little bit better. Not even longer. How about just better?
Quality of life. Quality of life, babe.
That's where I come from. I mean, I walk the walk and I talk the talk. I lived all that. And aside from hard drugs, I've done pretty much everything. And I walked away from it, and I can tell you, it's one of the best things that I ever did, and I'm grateful that I was able to convert. I have like 300 or 400 recipes. I only converted about 100 of them.
Right, you gotta start small. Gotta start somewhere.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would never end the book. I mean, someone was telling me, someone was criticizing me that I didn't put any pictures in the book. If I put pictures in the book would be like 1,000 pages. I mean, it would never end.
You also got to save something for the next book, right? You got to save something for the sequel, as they say.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So again, I just want to say, thank you for joining us. I mean, you've taken something that I think in my mind and many of our listeners' minds is so quintessentially meat-centric, and really presenting a different way to approach it. And that's something that, dude, I mean, we celebrate that on this show all the time. So it's very easy to just kind of keep the status quo and be like, well, I'll just take a pill for the rest of my life and call it a day. But, you went out there and you did look, you didn't find anything, and you said, okay, well, if it doesn't exist, I'm going to create it. And that is something that, we celebrate on this show all the time, because it's easy to complain about something. It's harder to make something, and you made something. You went out there and created the thing that you didn't have. So I commend you and give you all the kudos in the world, my friend.
Thank you. It was easier than you think it would be. And then it's because I like to cook anyway. Like, I was cooking anyway. So for me to experiment with other things, and I gotta tell you that my crowning achievement was changing my aunt, my tia, to vegetarian, because
of course,
for real though. I mean, she's a person that has a lot of recipes too that aren't common Cuban recipes that I like to convert her recipes next.
Oh, okay. So
and maybe have like a dia book because and she's so enthusiastic. She's so cute. Like, she's so involved in it now. That's the other thing that's very funny. Like, you don't realize how open people are to things until you throw it out to the world. Like, I never thought that I would sell a book in England. I never thought I would sell a book in Germany, and yet I have somehow. Yep. And I'm just a kid from Yonkers. Like, I'm not famous. I come from a Cuban family, like every Cuban family that's out there. I'm no different, And I just, I decided to make this. It became a little bit of a passion to me.
But that's what I think
mainly
people
because
responding to. I think people are responding to that. They know that you're doing it because it's something, que tú lo siente. It's not just a cash grab, shall we say? It's
not
a
at all,
passion project. And people really, really relate and react to that. Again, Raydel, thank you so much for joining us. Listeners, for those of you who are interested, you can find him on YouTube. What is your YouTube handle? So they can see your recipes there.
It's oh gosh, that's a bad question. I don't know. My book is available because I don't pay attention to the YouTube thing. I do TikTok and I do.
You do TikTok? Okay, well, wait. What's the TikTok handle?
It's Vegan Cubano.
Vegan Cubano. All right, and I know
I have a website.
Okay.
That's vegancubanoaswell.com.
Okay.
That's where all the videos are.
Got it.
And then my book is available on Amazon and also on my website, vegancubano.com.
Yep, and the name of the book is It's Delicious, It's Vegan, It's Cuban. So really, with a name like that, how can you forget it, guys? All right. Bueno, oye, Raydel, thank you again so much for taking the time to chat with us and really for doing something different, that most people would think was otherwise incompatible, veganism and Cuban food, but you've proved them wrong.
Yeah, I sure did.
And we're back.
I just love food in general.
Yeah. Look, let me tell you something about vegan. Like, there's times that I will go days, maybe not days, but I wouldn't eat meat. Like, I'm not, well, you know me, I'm not a big meat person.
Like meat, but you're not I have to have carne every day.
Yeah, no.
Right.
And I'm sorry, Seth. I'm so sorry. We love you. And I was vegetarian for 11 months. And honestly,
I only lasted 1 month.
I was vegetarian, people, for 11 months. And you know what brought me in? What, made me go back to the dark side?
Wait, I know this.
Un chicharrón.
Oh, yeah.
My uncle was making chicharrón. Actually, no, that's not true. I was vegetarian for 11 months. Halfway in, my uncle makes chicharrones at home, like the good ones,
and homemade. Yes,
and I like chicharrones, like the homemade Cuban chicharrones.
You're a chicharrón fiend.
I like when they're small, like when they're bite size.
Okay,
right. And my uncle made them, and when this was when I was 6 months into vegetarianism, when nobody was looking, I put one in my mouth, and I'm like, oh, this is heaven. Like, it's so amazing. It's so amazing. I'm gonna cry. That is, I have to tell you that the 11 months I was vegetarian, I didn't miss chicken, I didn't miss beef, I didn't miss white pork.
Right.
I missed freaking bacon and chicharrones. That's what I was like. Oh,
you're not wrong.
But I will tell you, so I could be vegetarian. My only obstacle with veganism is cheese.
Yeah, you can't do cheese.
I can't.
You can't not have cheese.
I'm obsessed with cheese. And vegan cheese...
It's not the same. God bless them, they try, but it's not the same.
And the thing with cheese is that I love cheese.
I know. I know.
It's give me all the cheese. I will give you the filet mignon. Just give me the cheese. Because the concept of veganism, I'm totally subscribed to. Like, I mean, the animal cruelty factor is just so huge because, like, that's why I became vegetarian, because I was
that's right.
at that
You
time
said
I was
this,
working in legal matters, and I was privy to a lot of information on some of the biggest slaughterhouses and butcheries and all that in the country, and I saw things that I was like, oh my gosh, people should not be seeing this, and
yeah, that's why they don't.
And it's terrible what they do to the animals. So I totally get it. Like, I totally get it. But, you know, cheese and milk.
Cheese, milk, and chicharrón.
I love milk. I love milk de la tapa roja. La tapa roja.
Yeah, you do full fat milk. Like, I'm surprised you don't ask for extra fat.
And you know what? And I love Parmalat too. I love milk. Like,
you really do.
You know me with milk and orange juice. I'm not having a calcium deficiency nor scurvy.
No scurvy up in this house.
Ay, pero es que la leche es tan rica.
Especially when it's really cold.
Yes.
Like, really,
de la tapa
really
roja.
cold. Yeah, none of that, like, 1% thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
but no. But my hat's off to people that are vegan, because I feel that people that are vegan talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah.
Like, they really do it. So my hat's off to them. And look, I think that even if you're not full-blown vegan or vegetarian, you could definitely have, like, a lot of different other options or switch things, because they're just, it's healthier and it's better.
I mean, we actually started buying, like, those. I know they're really high in sodium, but, like, the Beyond Burgers.
Yeah,
you know, things like that. They're good. You know, they're good. And again, it's a nice way to quitarte el antojo.
Yeah.
You know, of, like, I'm gonna eat a burger. It's not really a burger, we know this, but el antojo of, like, you know.
Some of them are actually pretty good.
The Beyond Burgers are good, and so is the Impossible.
I mean, I put cheese on them.
So do I.
But I mean, I've done some where I, like, get, like, a nice potato bun and I, like, heat it. I, like, get onions and I grill them, and then I saute them and, like, caramelize them.
Yeah.
And I put, like, a good, like, sharp cheddar on the Impossible Burger and a little bit, and it's pretty good.
Yeah. And all these items can be found at our sponsor, Sedano's.
Yes.
To tie it back. So speaking of things you can buy at Sedano's, is it last soda time?
Yes.
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Los chicharrones. Actually, I have a really fun Sedano story.
Bring it.
The other day, I was in the Sedanos in Hialeah. Well, there's about 20,000 Sedanos in Hialeah. But the one on 49th and, what is that? 49th and La Veintipico, or La Treintipico. The one that's by Latin Cafe. And this is a perfect story. I was on my way to the office, and I was running late. It was late. It was like 1:30 in the afternoon. And I wanted to eat something healthier.
Okay.
Right? So in that Sedano's, which I imagine they have them in most, they have some grab and go items.
Yes, they do. Yes.
So I got, like, a nice, like, rolled up
like a little wrap
of turkey and, like, Swiss cheese or something. But in that Sedano's, they have heated
hot food section. Yes.
They had serve yourself chicharrones.
And how many servings did you get?
I got 5. When I looked at them, I'm like, they're talking to me. I was like, go away. Stop talking to me, chicharrón.
Nope, they do not ever stop.
They were so good. They were so delicious, crispy, fatty, and salty. All the bad things.
All the best things, you mean.
And I remember, because they have, like, the grab and go section in front of the hot
food.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're in a Latin supermarket. I know what's going to be there. Don't look. Don't look.
It will always pull you in, babe.
And 5 chicharrones. I still had the wrap, though.
You still had the wrap, too. Well, you know, you want it to be healthy.
Yeah, I balanced it out.
La vida es de balance. You need balance in life, okay? Los extremos son malos, as they say.
And I actually had the wrap first, because I'm like, let me just get it over with.
I know. If you have to choose between the wrap and the chicharrones go last to, like, savor it.
Just get it over with.
That's great.
Those are the clusterfuck moments you have in your mind that you were like, what am I doing? Like, so yeah, that's my weakness, people. Flan y chicharrones.
Flan y chicharrones.
See, that's the thing.
That's why you can't be a
My
vegan.
favorite thing to eat in the world is flan.
flan. You
There's
can't-
nothing I enjoy more than
And
flan.
I've never. Maybe it's out there, but I've
You know,
never heard
it
of.
has eggs and-
I've never heard of a vegan flan.
Well, the two main ingredients are eggs
Egg and
milk.
Yeah.
That is why I can't be vegan, because I'm flan. The flan.
No, y el de queso con queso crema.
The flan de queso is
Yeah.
my favorite.
I'm saying so. 3.
That is my favorite thing to eat in the world, people. Un flan. You could keep the lobster, the meat, the filet mignon, the caviar.
But give me the flan.
Give me the flan. Anyway.
All right. So do you want to go first with this last soda, or do you want me to go?
Yeah.
You look like you're salivating.
I am,
like you
because
are.
I'm thinking
Like,
of a flan. And here, we had our guest who's vegan. Great interview, great thing. And here we are talking about chicharrones and flan. We're so bad. Anyway. Now that I'm thirsty after thinking of all that food. So I want to give my last soda. We actually haven't talked about this in the show, although it's been going on for the last 2 weeks. I just want to give it to the infrastructure bill.
okay.
Because I feel
It's just a bill on
Capitol
Capitol
Hill. The kids won't get it. Conjunction, junction.
What's your function? Actually, one of the composers just passed away this week.
They should bring back Schoolhouse Rocks.
They tried, and it
What,
just
the kids didn't like it?
It didn't.
God forbid.
It didn't catch on. But well, the infrastructure bill.
The infrastructure bill, because that's something that's been going on for the last couple of weeks, and we really haven't talked about it here. And I want to acknowledge it and give it a last soda, because it's something so important, and this was bipartisan, right? And it's something so important, and I don't know if everybody really. I know some people do. I don't know if in large, if people really realize how messed up infrastructure is in the United States and how behind we are from other countries. Like, when you go to Europe, just their airports. You go to their airports and you're like, this is like leaps and bounds, like ahead of the United States. Like, I mean, you lived in New York. Did you ever fly LaGuardia?
Yes, I did. That's all I flew.
LaGuardia, like, you go to LaGuardia and you're like, where am I? Like,
They're finally remodeling.
no, they are.
It looks really nice now.
Right, they are. And how long did it take?
pero yeah.
And it was like, I mean, I remember flying out of LaGuardia and being like, well, these vintage 1930s buildings, like, if you're into Art Deco architecture,
That's a place to be.
right? But as a international hub,
Not so much.
not so much.
Yeah.
And the fact that, we really don't have fast speed rail here. Now, South Florida or Florida actually is pretty good about roads and highways. Like, we have really good roads in Florida. But I could tell you, from somebody who's driven through most of the country and having lived in the Midwest, like, they have potholes in the interstate.
That's true.
In some states.
Yeah, due to the weather, obviously.
And you have bridges that are crumbling and stuff like that. And I don't know if, as I said, in a large part, like, people really realize how messed up infrastructure is here
And how important
and
it is.
how it's crucial.
Because I think a lot of people don't really understand what that blanket term encompasses.
Right.
I think that's the underlying situation.
Right, from highways to airports to ports.
Right.
Ports, like right now, there's a huge issue in the supply chain.
Yep.
I mean, there's the issue in the supply chain.
It's bigger than just infrastructure.
It's bigger than just having a bigger port. But we only have in the West Coast. There's only 2 ports that take in merchandise from Asia, which is the port of LA and the port of San Diego.
I think so.
Or is it the port of San Francisco? It's one of the 2.
One of the Saints.
And it's like, this is a huge thing, and there's also, I mean, there's more to it than just that type of infrastructure. There's again, clean water. Like, look at what happened in Flint, and that happened in other places too. So it's just it's a great. I think it's a long overdue movement that we need, and I think that it's going to be a very good thing.
Well, that's good. That's cool. the infrastructure bill.
Sodas for infrastructure.
For infrastructure, all the sodas for infrastructure. So my last soda is actually going to Wanda Dench and Jamal Hinton.
See, dime.
You have no idea who these people are.
No.
But when I tell the story, I'm sure it will ring a bell. So
yes.
In 2016, Wanda Dench sent a Thanksgiving text.
Oh yes, the incorrect guess.
Yes.
And the
thinking that it was her grandson.
Yes.
And it turned out that it was Jamal Hinton. And the text was basically like an invitation to Thanksgiving dinner or a question or whatever.
And these are the two most unlikely.
Yes. A white woman, an elderly white woman, and a young black man. And they are getting ready to have we're in 2021, so their 6th year of Thanksgivings together. Yeah. And I just love that.
I actually love that story.
I love that story. And I just think, you know what? They've managed to keep that tradition going, and that's lovely.
Like it was for her son, I know
for her grandson.
For her grandson.
Yes, for her
but
grandson.
Then he got it, but then he called her.
He replied. Because she said, and I don't have the text in front of me that she sent, but it was something like, you know, oh, are you coming for Thanksgiving? And he was like, well, who is this? Oh, it's your grandmother. Is it? Like, it kind of went back and forth, and it basically ended with her being like, well, you know, you're still invited. And I think, you know, it's because I don't know if he doesn't have family in the area or whatever. And, you know, resumida cuenta, they are still celebrating Thanksgiving.
You know where I first heard of this a few years back?
The View?
CBS Sunday Morning.
Oh.
They had them on. Oh, yeah. Haven't had a CBS Sunday Morning reference in a while.
It's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm more than just CBS Sunday Morning.
Yes. You're also The View.
Oye, The View hoy se dio tremenda fajazo.
Really?
Yeah. Jedediah Bila, Sunny Hostin, and Joy.
Well.
Because Jedediah Bila, Jedediah Bila was on The View as a.
I was gonna say, yeah, this
before Meghan McCain. She was like a conservative.
Okay.
But she's more of a libertarian. But she was saying that she didn't get vaccinated because her doctor said that she shouldn't get vaccinated because she has some type of
autoimmune or whatever,
something that doesn't make her a candidate for the vaccination. And she said something along the lines of. Oh, another thing. She got interviewed on Zoom because since she's not vaccinated,
oh, that's
ABC has a policy that everybody has to be vaccinated. And then Joy Bay, she said something along the lines of like, "Oh, if you got the vaccine, it doesn't mean you could still get COVID."
Of course, right? Like a flu shot. Yeah.
Joy and Sunny jumped on her over that, and things did not end well.
I mean, she's not lying,
but things did not end well, and then you know. They started
and it just became a free-for-all of crazy.
Yeah, I have to tell you that as much as I love The View and everybody knows I love The View, sometimes the fights they're a little cringe-worthy, and sometimes they make you very uncomfortable. Like, I like a good debate, but it gets to a point...
A debate is different than a fight.
It gets to a point that it's like, ugh, this is not what I tuned in for, but, you know, whatever. Yeah, that's another story for another day.
Bueno, peoples.
Well, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. If by chance you're at the fair on Wednesday, keep an eye out for us. We will be out and about.
In all of our glory.
Yes. Well, I don't know about that.
Comiendo.
Yes.
I won't be eating. I'll be eating from everybody else, and then I'll be like, no, I don't want to get that. That's too expensive. No,
Mira,
I'm saving myself.
I know exactly what you're going to get.
What am I going to get, Dime?
You're going to get the chicharrones, because you always always get chicharrones, okay? And you're going to get the ice cream that's not cold.
Right.
You're going to get the pizza.
Yes.
You're probably going to... take a bite out of somebody's like elephant ear or something like that.
I take lots of bites.
Right.
What I had though, well, not last year because of COVID.
You'll probably get like a gyro.
The year before, what I had that I hadn't had before, and it was it peer pressure because everybody got one, and then I got one, and it was really good. That thing in a Cheetos bag.
Oh, in a
Frito-Lay bag.
In the Frito-Lay chip bag. Yeah,
it was so good.
Yeah,
it was so good.
They were good.
It was good.
I hope they're there.
You know what I've never had? What? I have never had a funnel cake.
But it's kind of like an elephant ear.
Well, no, I know. And I've gotten pieces of your funnel cake.
Oh, but you've never had your own funnel cake. Oh, okay.
That goes in my list of things that I've never really ordered. Like, I've never really had a meatball sub.
You and the meatball sub.
It's not a value.
You know what? Let's end this before we get into this conversation again.
But now I want to talk about the fair, about the food. Pero let me tell you after the
soda.
Now I want to talk about fair food.
Well, as opposed to talking about it, we'll just post pictures as we eat our way
Okay,
through the
fine.
fair.
Remember when we were kids and used to have the ice cream of the future?
The Dippin' Dots.
Yeah, it's the future.
And now the ice cream isn't here.
What do you mean?
Where is the Dippin' Dots?
In the fair.
Is it still there?
That's where I always get it. Oh. Well, they have it in other places too, but that's where I would always get it as a kid, the ice cream of the future.
Amita.
And now the future's here.
The future's here. And now we just have ice cream that's not cold.
Right. Now we just have ice cream. Anyway, bueno, everybody, we hope you listened, laughed, and learned. And as always, grab your croqueta, your pastelito, and your cafecito. And thank you so much for joining us.
All right, that's episode 183.
Have
Bye.
a great weekend, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.